This is from a previous workshop about what to do after graduation from an interpreting training program for sign language interpreting. Also about how to think about interpreting as a career. This information that I'm going to share with you comes from the state of California, where I've been working as an interpreter in post-secondary education, advanced education settings as a freelance interpreter. Also, I'm an experienced coordinator. I've coordinated services at 3 community colleges. So I'll share to you from the perspective of an interpreter, still an active interpreter in the field, but also from the perspective of a coordinator, as someone who has evaluated and hired interpreters, someone who has scheduled interpreting services as well. So this presentation will touch on 3 main things, starting with 5 things that you should already have, should be doing, should already have now. The next thing is I'm going to expand a little bit of specific work in post-secondary settings. And I want to emphasize that I'm speaking from my area in California, how I work as an interpreter in these environments, but also how I've scheduled interpreters in these environments, what expectations I might have, or basically what I'm asking for from an interpreter for us to work together. And the last thing I will finish with is some advice, what I would like to impart to you, what I would give to a person who's just graduated, or what I'd like to share as an interpreter who's experienced, what I would like to pass on to the incoming generation. I'm not going to take your time about ideas of where you can work. No, your program should have already discussed that. You've already seen the examples of the emergency press briefing, the interpreters on screen. We see the interpreters on the news. Well, not here, but we regularly see the interpreters on screen in other countries. And interpreting as an independent contractor can lead you to many places. And those can be a variety of things. And those places can include and do include working from home on video and working from a call center, for example, video relay service. Okay, so then what's up with interpreting? Interpreting can be lucrative, but still hard to get a full-time job with benefits. What do I mean by that? I absolutely respect that you've given time to your education, to your training, and your studies as a sign language interpreter. What I mean with that statement is that the profession of interpreting, it's been very good to me, okay? We all go to school, and if we're lucky, we get to train in something and learn something that we enjoy and love to do, and that we do well, but also that we can make a good living because we're raising our families and our children and we have our own goals that we want to reach to be successful and take care of our families. So what I mean with that statement is there's a lot of work for interpreting. So much is needed. There's a demand of many places, many environments. So really, you can have good experiences. You can feel like this is a rewarding thing. You could be a successful interpreter. But also as an interpreter, can you get a full-time job? Well, at least not here where I live, it's difficult. An example is the community college system in California. I mean, really, you basically have to wait for someone to retire, or I'm sorry to say it, or they have to pass away. They have to die. Someone has to create a job, develop it, and then hire someone. And maybe you can work K-12 for that, but none of us who have just graduated should go to K-12. And reasons you should already understand. We don't have to go into detail to that. So, then what? You gotta work as much as possible. Work with as many teams as possible, interpreting teams. Observe your teams. Always take what you can build your toolbox with. Keep good things with you. And I don't mean that every team is going to be your mentor. I have to respect them and take notes and bow down to them. No, you're a professional. But as a professional, we all expect that it doesn't matter how you approach a situation. Example, let's say we work together. It doesn't mean that I'm always going to be your mentor. We're professionals now. You're my team. But what professional interpreters always do when they arrive to an assignment, when they're arriving to work with a team, I'm going to observe their work. It doesn't matter if I don't talk to you. You're still going to observe my work. I'm going to still observe yours. It doesn't matter that we don't have a discussion. Why do I say it that way? Because sometimes interpreters for different reasons don't get along. But you know what? We always set that aside and we go ahead and work together. We always, of course, observe each other. I do it well. I take mental notes, what I can keep with me for my next assignment. As you will also expect that you'll do the same. You'll take what you'll keep for your next assignment. Of course, in a more perfect world, we would have a professional discussion after each assignment, before each assignment, but that doesn't always happen. Not only because of time, but also because of personalities. Other reasons might come up for why you can't do that. So, as an interpreter, as a professional interpreter, now it's your responsibility, your duty to start developing yourself. Okay, so with all this in mind, what we've just gone through, first you have to ask yourself, now that you've already graduated or you're ready to graduate soon, what does it mean for you to work as an interpreter? You have to ask yourself, but specifically ask yourself this question. Do you approach interpreting as simply a way to make some money, get a paycheck every few weeks, or do you approach and view the work as a career? You'll be in the field for a long time, for many years to come, and you'd like to develop, advance, improve your skills, and you want to participate in the field and contribute to the field. So first you have to ask yourself, what does that mean? Working as an interpreter, what does that mean for me? And there's no wrong answer. We understand we all have different goals. Some people start in interpreting and, they advance, they move onward, a different path. Still working with the deaf community, still working with sign language, but not as an interpreter, and that's life. That happens. But the reason I say that it's something you have to ask yourself, I invite you to think about this the whole time during the workshop. Keep it in mind. Think about interpreting as a career with a future. I want you to envision interpreting and your future long term with that idea, and that'll help you make decisions. It'll help you keep your professionalism, and it'll help you to incorporate as a professional in the field. So another thing, something that you should consider, but you're way advanced from when I was in my program. We didn't have an opportunity to have an online portfolio. So you should already have been building your portfolio online with your best top level work best homework from class, it should all already be there. And if you were in my class, or a class of some of the professors I have in mind, you'll remember that when you recorded yourself, you had professional attire on and a professional view, because that video could be used to apply for a job, to negotiate a job pay. It's already there. You've got your best work, your best look. You should not look like a student in your videos. So again, when I was a coordinator, I would always ask for a work sample for someone to send me a link during the application process for a community college. Also, what I would do is, for that new applicant, I would connect them with a mentor on campus. And sometimes I'd be disappointed, because sometimes I would receive a video, from the person who wants to become an interpreter. So they send me their work sample, they're filling out the application, they're going through the process, but their video, they're dressed not like an interpreter. And I would think, why would you send me this video? If you want to use it to get a job, but it doesn't make any sense. You have to think every time you record yourself. Every time you're working, every time you publish your work, you record something. It doesn't matter if it's public. It could also be an unlisted video. You just send a link. Someone clicks on it to watch your video. Always have in mind that every video you make, every time, you will develop your online portfolio, so it will be part of it. Or at least it possibly can. Can you imagine recording a video and you're doing like amazing work, like you're submitting it for, I don't know, a contract you want or a specific assignment, and your work is like top level champ, but you're dressed and you don't look like an interpreter. But another person submits the same work, but they have an entire professional attire. Who do you think they'd pick? Who would they remember? They'll remember the person who did not dress professionally, but for different reasons, as opposed to the person who sent everything. They'll remember you for different reasons. And I think I mentioned before that you got to be the full package. The full package is like, how should I say this? It's a gift. It's a gift for a coordinator. When I meet an interpreter that is a full package, oh my goodness. Those interpreters, I want to make sure, are happy to stay working with me, to stay part of my team. I share with you that still, for me, I still get asked, on occasion for some work samples for like specific type of work. On to the third thing you have to do, if you haven't already, is invest in professional attire, especially a professional jacket. You don't want to be the only person who shows up to an assignment, and there are several other interpreters. They're all wearing their black blazer jacket, except for you. It's always obvious who arrives ready and prepared and who's experienced. And sometimes we'll receive the same details for the same assignment and no one communicates with each other. No one texts each other, nothing. But we all arrive, familiar interpreters, known interpreters, and we all look the same. Our clothes is the same. Why is that? It's not simply because we're looking the part, we're looking like an interpreter, but we've already been trained and we have experience and we know what a specific assignment might require in terms of attire and to be part of the team. I'm going to refer you to your homework, but invest in your at-home workstation. There's so much more work online now on video, and All of us are ready to work at home. It's the same as there's interviews online, there's discussions, meetings to participate in workshops. So have your workstation ready with a professional view, and having that is exactly what you should be doing now. Thing, but not the least important, from all of the lists is to learn about the business of interpreting. And what do I mean by that? Like invoices, learn what's required on them, what's required on each invoice. For example, sometimes some entities that I work with, maybe like one requires a PO number to be included. Another place I work, they require a signature on my own invoice. Other places I work with require some kind of specific information on their invoice in order to make the payment process more smoothly. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to what's required for each situation. Also, think about your tax preparation. Taxes and the preparation of taxes. To remember that working as an interpreter doesn't always mean that we work at one place. That would be simple. To get one form in the mail for the end of the year tax purposes, it's exactly the opposite. We work at many places and we collect many forms. So preparing for that tax time is important. We should be looking for, do I need a business license to work as an interpreter? As a contractor, do I need a business license? You need to look into what are the standard practice in the area. For example, in my area, it's pretty standard to charge an additional fee for last-minute assignments, like emergency assignments. So what's the policy? Is there a cancellation policy? Some have a 24-hour cancellation, others 48. And sometimes we have to say to ourselves, what policy, cancellation policy, is something that is acceptable to me for my work, that fits and functions well for my life? For example, I prefer to work with a 48-hour cancellation. I prefer a little bit more time than the 24 hours. And sometimes I like to negotiate that. That's what I'm trying to say with learn about the business of interpreting. It's not only about accepting work, but what do I want to negotiate? What is there? Also, for example, recently, what happens if I accept an assignment, but the agency, they don't have a team confirmed for me? Is their cancellation policy still in effect for me? Do I have to show up by myself? That's a question you have to ask yourself, and be ready and have considered this. Be ready to say, hey, wait a minute. What's your policy if something happens? How will you advocate for me?